Hello, and welcome to another divorce discussion where we are once again not talking about divorce in this one. And I think that's a good thing. We're talking about the beyond the divorce part. And so I have a true expert in her field, Marla Press. She is a speaking coach, and she really works with people about how to get out there and get yourself heard and overcome, I'm guessing, a lot of the issues that prevent people from speaking in public. So, Marla, welcome. So happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Marty, for having me. I love your picture in the background. I'm all about a lot of color.
Me
So, uh,
too. Me
so
too.
this is
Yeah.
fabulous. Like having color in our life just makes us feel better, right?
Yes, yes.
And
And I used to wear a colored shirt, and then it was kind of a little overwhelming. So this time I thought I'd just go with black. But Marla, what is a speaking coach, and how did you get to be one?
yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to be a speaking coach. Some people focus more like a Toastmasters, like how to have these formulas for good speeches. Some people focus on just the confidence part of being a speaker because, woo, that's a big thing, is how do you get that confidence? What I do, my original background was in psychology. So I was a life coach and I also did counseling for people on a lot of serious issues and still very passionate about that. And then I discovered something called the art of feminine presence, which I love. We now include men. So it's now the art of presence because we have masculine presence, feminine presence, and mostly it's just about how to really be in your body, get out of your critical controlling mind, and be in your full presence so that whether you're on a first date or you're on a big stage or a little Zoom room or one-on-one, you come from a different place with your communication. And that's more what I focus on is you as a speaker and not as much about the content, although I also go into your compelling story and your pitch and all those things that are also important. But it starts with you.
Yeah.
It starts with you and your presence and how you communicate to whoever your audience is, one person or many.
Yeah, that is so important because you're right. You can write a beautiful speech, or you can nowadays get AI to write you a wonderful speech. You can memorize it and get up there and give it. And it's just like you might as well just listen to like a robot read it because it doesn't have, there's no connection. And I gotta say, here's me on my soapbox. I've listened to a lot of TEDx talks over the last little while because that's my goal for 2024 is get on a TEDx
Oh,
talk. But
wonderful.
here's the thing. A lot of them are they're great content, but there's no engage, like I don't feel any connection to that speaker. So what is it that you're able to do to bring that out of people?
Yeah, what a great question and so important. It's true that even people in a TEDx stage can be kind of boring and certainly not stand out from the crowd. And you talked about memorizing your speech. Communication is only 10% the words we use. And
Right.
yeah, your words are important, but it's 20% your tone and it's a whopping 70% your energy. So it's your confidence, it's your body language, and it's your passion, and it's this communication and energy that you radiate, whether you're conscious of it or not, whether your audience is conscious of it or not. We react to people how they make us feel more than what they're really saying.
Right. Right. Yeah. And there's that Maya Angelou quote, and now it's
Oh,
gone
I
completely out
love
of my head. You know, you'll never remember what people did, but you'll certainly remember how they made you feel. And that's not accurate by any stretch of the imagination. But
yeah.
what do you think, or why do you think, let me ask you this, why do you think so many people who are very confident, very professional, very experienced, and even experts in their field just, you know, huddle in a ball in the corner when they know they have to give a presentation or a speech? What's going on with that?
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I find that some clients come to me and they've spoken already quite a few times on some sort of platform and they have this expertise, but it's almost like they're hiding behind it. And when they're talking about their information and expertise, it's easy to give information. But when you have to talk about yourself, when you have to give people a piece of who you are and be a little vulnerable, because that's what makes a great speaker, that's a lot more challenging to express yourself, because someone can disagree with your topic or your information, but if they don't like you or judge you for who you are and how you're coming off as a speaker and a person, that hits home a little bit more. And so that's why public speaking is like, a greater fear than death, because you're risking this judgment and being seen and heard for who you are, expressing yourself.
Yeah, yeah. So do you find yourself, I'm asking now I'm asking you to be vulnerable here. When you hear people speaking, and I'm not going to say any names because I certainly don't want to make any misconceptions here, but let's say you're hearing a famous person, somebody who everybody would know, maybe in the coaching field, or maybe in the positive energy field, or maybe in the I don't know, motivational speaking field. When you
Sure.
hear them speaking, do you find you naturally kind of critique them and think, oh, I could get them to do that better, or do you just listen and enjoy it like the rest of us?
I can no longer just listen and enjoy it. No, I am constantly thinking of how someone can reword something, how they can use their body differently, how they can be more authentic, how they can be more expressed, more fully expressed. Because there's some people that, they're just in this major performance mode
Right,
and they're not connecting. Or there's people that are in their expert mode and they're not being that V word, that vulnerable.
right, right.
Yeah.
Where do you see, or maybe I'm asking that wrong. Do some people just have a natural ability to speak and they don't really have to do much about it? Or is that a myth that some people are just naturally good at it?
Well, I do believe that some people are naturally better than others, but we all have the ability to become exceptional speakers with the right training. So some people say, oh, just practice, practice, it'll get easier. Well, to a degree, but for a lot of people, they really need to learn how to be these exceptional speakers. And I didn't totally finish your question before. You were asking, so how do I get people to get out of their head? And it's not something you can intellectualize about. And I don't give people, there's 3 steps to do blah, 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 or become more present, just do it, or take that up a notch. What I do, which is so powerful, is I take people through these experiences where they get to fully experience what it's like to be in their body. It's almost a guided meditation, but it's not a meditation, but it's a guided exercise that with my guidance and my experience, you will be able to be in this full body presence, and it feels really good. You communicate so much better, but you can't intellectualize about it. You have to go through this process and practice it.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was funny. I had a friend who was getting ready to present to a big crowd. Like I'm talking, a few hundred people at this large conference. And she was practicing. I said, do you want me to come over and you can practice the speech in front of me? And she goes, no, 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 I'm practicing in front of an audience. And afterwards I said, by the way, what audience were you practicing in front of? And she goes, my dog and my cat. How was the feedback on that one?
It was exactly what she wanted to hear.
Yeah. So, now I have heard, and I know of different speaking trainings that I've actually been to, where they've done improv work. Do you see improv as a benefit to public speakers? Is it a complimentary thing or is it a mandatory thing?
Well, I do think it's mandatory, but there's a couple ways to do improv. So I've also gone to trainings, and it was more like a typical improv that a comedian would go through to learn how to be spontaneous, but it gets kind of silly, right? Or it can. Whereas the improv that I do, and so I have group trainings that I do that are, I also do one-on-one trainings, but when you're a speaker, you want to do the group trainings. Ideally, I don't want to get off on a tangent there. So improv. I don't let people prepare ahead of time. There's no homework. It's great. So you improv, but on a meaningful topic. So I don't give people much time to prepare because I think it's really important to learn how to speak from what you know and not have this prepared speech.
Right.
So in that regard, they get a lot of improv practice, but I don't do as much of the game playing. And sometimes you might do a little game playing just to make it fun.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think it's really valuable to do this improv, but with meaningful topics. And then you get the experience of what it's like to not have things memorized and really
Yeah.
speak from your heart. What I tell people is, you know your material, know that you know it. Because people are so afraid of forgetting what they were going to say. And that doesn't really matter. And it's not even if you don't read your material or you don't use a teleprompter or you don't, memorize it and then have it all memorized, it's still going to sound at least a little bit robotic if you're trying to picture where, your message that was on the page.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about realistic kind of talks that most people let's look at people that maybe are trying to up level their career, or maybe people who know that part entrepreneurs who know that public speaking is going to be a great way to reach more of their audience. What is realistic for somebody to start out at? Like, I'm sure you don't want to, apply to be a keynote speaker for the national conference for whatever association you belong to.
You don't think? Come on.
But I've seen people do crazy stuff like that. What do you think? What do you think is realistic? Like, is Toastmasters a good place? And I'm not putting Toastmasters, I'm not asking you to critique them, but are things like that helpful, or do they sometimes kind of teach you bad habits as well? Or what should we be doing?
Yes, I think it's really, really important to hire a coach. So which coach is up to you and your personality, really evaluate not just how they are as a speaker, but what program they're offering to really help you, how personalized it is, because some programs are huge and you don't get a lot of personal attention.
Yeah.
I keep my groups maybe 10 people. That's how small it is, because I want every single person to get a ton of value and tweak it for their own personal needs. As far as where to speak, start out with something easy. The easiest thing to do is to do a live on social media. It's free. It's something that, so many people are doing. You don't have to be perfect. It's easy. The best way to do it is to swap with a colleague or a friend and have them interview you. And then, a week later or a few days later, you interview them, so that you've got, sort of like we're doing now, having a conversation instead of feeling the pressure of having to give a speech.
Right.
So those are great places to start. The other good places are, find local associations that you're passionate about. So if you're a woman and you're passionate about, helping women with divorce, or you're passionate about, health issues, or you're passionate about mental health, or whatever it is, seek those out. Because if you also feel passionate about the cause, you're going to have a lot more joy in what you're doing. And hey, I think you got to make it joyful.
Yeah.
Because, it just makes everything so much easier.
Yeah. And I agree with you. Some of the places that I was able to get speaking gigs when I started was, Rotary clubs and chambers of commerce and, local association chapters. And even if it's, a lot of times they'll say, yeah, but we've only got 20 minutes or we've got like 10 minutes or something. It's worthwhile getting out there and doing it. It really is. Like, it's just get out there and do it, right? That's it. The old Nike swish, right? Just do it.
Do it. Yeah, the other great place to start is networking groups. And a lot of times in a networking group, you have 1 minute.
Yes.
You don't even get 10 or 20, you get 1 minute. But to perfect that 1 minute and be interesting in that 1 minute, you can get a lot of clients that way in a lot of other speaking gigs. So, it's also a good place to practice because usually in a networking group, everybody's in the same boat. They're all trying to support each other. So that's also helpful.
Yeah. And I just like how positive this can be, that it doesn't have to be this big overwhelming thing. When you're, and this is going to be the last crazy question I ask you, I promise. When you are talking to people who are getting into this, in your experience, how important are speaking skills when it comes to job interviews and being able to, I'm going to say, move up the corporate ladder if you're in corporate America or corporate Canada or wherever. Where would you put speaking skills kind of as a skill base to have when you go into those things?
Yeah, I mean, speaking has changed in general, corporations have changed in general. So it's no longer the same thing. It's no longer enough to just have good credentials and good information. They want people that are team players. Even if you're going to be a leader, you have to be a team player and a good leader. And you have to be able to communicate well. Communication skills are highly valued in corporate America or anywhere in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
They're becoming more and more important. How can you express yourself? How can you get your message across? And how can you relate and connect to others?
Yeah. Valuable information. And I think too many people are afraid of, taking the plunge or taking the leap or whatever you want to call it, and just getting out and doing speaking, and to know that there's somebody such as yourself who is a speaking coach who can help you with your presentation, with your content, with your pausing, with your inflections, with your intonation, with your, I do this crazy hand gesture thing. Like, whatever you can do, you don't have to do it on your own. There are people that can guide you through this so that you have that confidence. I love this. I love this. Marla, what do you think is the most important thing that you would like people listening to remember about this conversation today?
Yeah, I'd like to add that we are often our own worst critic. And when you go out to speak, people are going to like you. And if not everybody does, that's okay. But it's not going to be this big disaster that you probably have up in your mind. It's just, think of it as having a conversation with people and that you are valuable. You know something. You may not know everything, but you know something that other people don't. And just sharing that message from your heart. And it's going to be wonderful and it's going to make you feel good too.
Yeah, and that, see, I thought I was winding it up, but I'm not really, because I'm going off on something else. Um, I think the thing is, like you said, you may look at what your knowledge and you may say, well, this isn't very much, but there's somebody who hasn't heard your message, who is where you were 5 years ago, that thinks, wow, you really know a ton of stuff about this. We just have to remember that.
Yes,
So
that's
if
so
people want to
true.
reach out, find out more about you, learn about what you do, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, the best way is through my link tree because it has everything. Email if you prefer that. It has a free masterclass I offer where I take you through these guided exercises that are so powerful. It has a one-on-one call with me where I will help you evaluate whether you're hot or not. That's my brand, is Speakers on Fire Academy. And so it's everything is in there. My social media, if you want to just check some things out about me before we meet. So that's the best place.
Okay, so I'm going to get that from you, and I'm going to put that in the show notes, at the bottom of the YouTube video, so you can go click on that, and then you can click on anything you want to do to see Marla. See, I told you I do this thing with my
So
hands.
your hand gestures and your energy are fabulous. You don't want to block your face though.
I
That's one thing that a lot of people will do I mean, there's just, like turning around. There's certain things we don't want to do, but
right,
oh my
and
gosh, I love your energy, Marty. You are fabulous.
oh, thank you. And I have to tell you, I'm sitting here, and it's funny, we're talking about things that aren't going to go right. I have this huge dog that is laying against my light. And every time he rolls over, my light is moving. So I'm watching the shadow go across my face. I'm thinking, here I am talking to this expert speaking coach, and it looks like I'm in his strobe light room, and it's because the dog is hitting the light. So never know what's going to happen when you record these things, do you? Marla, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you sharing your expertise and wisdom, because this is something that really worries a lot of women. So if you got to speak, contact Marla, because she's going to help you get through that.
Thank you so much, Marty. This has been so great.
Thank you. Take care.